Peace and blessings, family. This is your brother, asarimhotep with the Martin Delaney Center for Egyptology. And today we have a presentation titled Egyptian Nefer, a Bantu word for nobility and kingship. We will discuss the role of good character in African nobility. So, this, of course, is a linguistic analysis. So, have your paper and pen ready to take some notes and leave a comment, or you can ask a question in the comment section below. But all that and more when we return in just a moment. Who have decided to join us today. So make sure that you like and thumb up the video. And if you are new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe. We're trying to reach a goal of 10,000 subscribers as a first milestone, and you can help by subscribing to this channel. And so without further ado, let's get started. So again, the title of this conversation is Egyptian Nefer, a Bantu word for nobility and kingship. And this lecture was inspired by a text, which we will get into later. And they had some curious words that was associated with nobility in East Bantu languages. And of course, doing my due diligence, did some comparative work and come to find out that these terms exist also in ancient Egyptian. And so I have a hypothesis at the moment that certain people that have the name Nefer may not necessarily be referring to beauty as what we see in the Egyptological literature, but may refer to this notion of being born uh, a noble, of a particular class of individual, and that is also associated with the nature of good character and the like. So, let's just get started. So, some of this is already present in my 2021 text titled Chiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological study. And you can get that at osirimhotep.com. And the, the Martin Delaney, I'm sorry, the maduandelapress.com website as well. But this expands just a little bit more than what I have in the text. So if you're unfamiliar with the ancient Egyptian word Nefer, there's many different Nefers, but the one that is primarily associated with the term has to deal with the definitions on the left-hand side of your screen. So that is the hieroglyph, which is believed to be either the heart or lungs, and the trachea symbol, and is represents the three consonants in sequence NFR, because of course we don't know the vowels per se in at least in the Old Kingdom Middle Egyptian variant of the language. And so, uh, so this term here that we're talking about today can be defined as beautiful, kind, fair, well-being, luck, treasures, good, happy, well, and fine. There are some other definitions, and we'll get into that. And it coincides with the Chiluba Bantu word buimpe, without the equivalent R, which has been dropped in this variant, but is brought back in the other ones that we see below. But just like in ancient Egyptian, this word buimpe, the bu is an abstract prefix, means beauty, joy, goodness, well, agreement, elegance, excellence, perfect, and also generosity, right? And then you have impila, to be beautiful, good, pretty, well, pleasant, new, strong, and perfect. And then you have this word pela, meaning to civilize, purify, filing and polishing, as well as adorning. And then we have a different variant with a different central vowel. It's not a central vowel for the linguist, but I'm just saying the first vowel in the is a O, and it means to be gentle, calm, damp, cool, peaceful, quiet, healthy, well, and well. Then we have bupole, peace, calm, tranquility, freshness, good. And then we have impello, extremity, completion, finish, end. Impuila, finish, completion. Um, and infula, meaning charitable person. And so we will see why these terms are all related in just a moment. But as discussed earlier, the word Nefer is in a number of names, and probably the most famous of the Nefers, if I should say that, is Nefertiti. But the full name of Nefertiti is Nefer Neferu Aten Nefertiti. And it has been defined as the beautiful are the beauties of Aten. The beautiful one has come. And we may, have room to alter that definition, as we will see later on in the presentation. But here are some of the representations, the bust of Sister Nefertiti, and we can see that she has some rich African features, unlike the fake bust that you or normally see. So I wanted to highlight these images of her. Here's another variant image of Nefertiti, and I want to play this video clip that's going to say something really interesting about Nefertiti that is going to be significant in this conversation.
Legend says Egypt never produced such beauty. Her very name means the perfect one. Her face adorned temples throughout the land. Yet she vanished from history like a mirage. Now, a lone Egyptologist thinks she's made the greatest discovery since King Tut's tomb. In a secret chamber in the Valley of the Kings lie 3 ancient corpses. According to Dr. Joanne Fletcher, one may be none other than Egypt's lost queen, Nefertiti.
Still can't believe this happened.
In the hands of an international team of experts, the latest technology will reveal the mummy's secrets and forensically reconstruct what may be the face of Nefertiti. Is this one of history's most powerful women?
It's incredible.
To find out, Dr. Fletcher embarks on a journey through time, back more than 3,000 years to rewrite history. She uncovers the story of a living God, a tragic tale of power, love, betrayal, and perhaps even murder.
Now, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit to get to the point that I want to get to. So it's about 8 minutes or so into it. So I'm just going to skip ahead about maybe right here.
The ultimate sacrilege. Her face smashed, obliterating not just her beauty, but her identity, denying her entrance to the afterlife. A fate worse than death. But they left behind a telltale clue. A clue overlooked by everyone, except Dr. Joanne Fletcher. She's an expert in a rare field, ancient Egyptian hair. "13 years ago, buried among the treasures of the Cairo Museum, Joanne noticed an ancient wig.
With certain specializations, you do zoom in to quite a close range level. You tend to see things that otherwise tend to get dismissed as trivial. I'm actually drawn to things which other people may have missed.
A wig is like a fingerprint, leading to the time it was made and who it was made for.
What we're actually looking at here is basically the Nubian wig, the Nubian hairstyle, which generally was only worn by royal women between around 1400 and 1300 BC.
Pictorial evidence shows Nefertiti wearing a wig exactly like this one. Could the wig in the museum be hers?
It was one of those little light bulb moments when ding, then you sort of think, no, it's interesting, but no way. And that probably explains why it's taken 13 years to get to this point, because it just seemed so incredible.
And I just wanted to pause it right there. So if you caught what she said that Nefertiti is known, you see her in that particular depiction wearing the so-called Nubian wig. And it is a royal wig, or a hairstyle at least. And that says a lot, because it is, you have to question, how did a deep so-called sub-Saharan African hairstyle become the hairstyle of royalty and nobility in ancient Egypt, right? And so it shows that Nefertiti is, well, of course, she's a royal queen, but it may correlate, as we will see later on, with this concept of nobility in itself. So it's all coming together neatly when we kind of understand the greater African context. So, part of the name of Nefertiti is not, there's no TT in the word. So I'm going to go back so you can see the glyphs. So it is Nefer, Neferu, Aten, and then Nefer, and then this word iti or iati, which is the feminine form of this word here, meaning to come, iati. So it's Neferet, iati, and so that word iati, the feminine form, because of the feminine form of the word nefer and neferet, comes from this root here, iya, to come. So that's why they define it as the beautiful one, as come. But this word iya is present in Chiluba in the same form, so we know how to pronounce it. Iya, to come, right? And then there's a variant where ya becomes wa, and then in Chiluba we say lwa, to come, or voir, to come, to arrive, to become. And we see the variant here in ancient Egyptian here. So we're going to show you that Chiluba and Chikam, or ancient Egyptian, have these particular concepts, and they come from a common source. And so that same word, yeah, meaning to come, is in the very word hotep, or using the greeting of hotep, or when we say welcome, we say iti or iati hotep, right? And we can see it on this particular stela here, which is highlighted in the yellow, and it's the stela Chech. And we can see that phrase here, Jetu or Jitawi, Nef, Iyawi. That's that word right here. Imhotep in Weru Nawa Rabajau. Translated as, there is said to him, welcome in peace by the great ones of Abydos. So when people try to say Hotep is not a greeting, it is a greeting, but it's part of a fuller greeting, meaning, Iwi, or you could say, sometimes you'll say Iti, but this one is Iyawa or Iyawi Imhotep. And I had to put because I forgot the Nef here. So that Nef belongs right up in here, right? But continuing on. So the name Nefer is also in another famous female ruler, and that is Amose Nefertari. And you can see one of her busts. She is, often depicted in a very pitch black form, but that is the form of her after death. This is one of many depictions of her while she is living, and she has the standard Desher, reddish brown skin color and tone, and braids, the African hairstyle right here. So this is Amose Nefert Ari, right? But as mentioned before, that word Nefer is part of many names. So when you go on the TLA and you filter the search engine for names of people, you will see some of these names pop up. And so these are personal names of individuals in ancient Egypt. So I showed you that, two famous women who have the word Nefer, but the word and more specifically Neferet, because they're women, so it ends in a feminine T. But it can also be used in male names, and normally it would just be Nefer in the neutral, or Neferwawu, meaning with the masculine at the end of it. And so sometimes you see it in the plural that will transliterate it as Neferu or Neferwau, Neferwa. But it really should be Nefer, right? And you can see this Neferu, Neferwa Sebek, for the god Sebek, and then we have Nefert, Iati, that we mentioned earlier, so-called Nefertiti, but it's Nefert Iati, and then you have Neferwa Iyawa, right? And then you have Neferet Iwa or Wa, then Nefer Iya, which is the male variant, Nefer Iya. And then part of a pharaoh's name here, Nefer Ibra Nekhetu. And then we have this other variant at the bottom, Nefer Ib. And I think this is either this is a wrong transliteration or these are the wrong glyphs for this name, because this is Nefer. There's a Nefer meaning ground or base, and you can see the glyphs for Ta land as well as an N23 irrigated land glyph, and those are the glyphs following for Bu. So it'd be like Bu Nefer Bu or Nefer Bawi, right? So I think this is incorrect here. One of these two is incorrect, but nevertheless, Nefer Ib is part of a name. So I think more than likely these are the wrong glyphs that the TLA put, but we'll investigate that further. So here are some various personal names. These are all personal names of the word Nefer. And so we want to be able to kind of decipher and get at the heart of why these names were kind of common and what they may have signaled in ancient Egyptian times. So let's deal with some sound meaning correspondences between Chiluba and ancient Egyptian. So we have at least 3 different initial consonant correspondences, right? So we have this word Nefer, meaning phallus, and then we have in Chiluba, Lubolo, Lubolu, or Lubola, meaning penis or rod. And then we have Neferwa, meaning ground level or base, or Neferet, meaning underworld or tomb, right? And this may play a major part if we go back to Nefret Ari in terms of, possibly why she was depicted very, very dark and black. And you have to read my text, Race and Egypt and Race and Identity in Ancient Egypt, Volume 1, that came out last year in 2023, right? But there is a Neferet, underworld tomb, and this corresponds with Chiluba Buloba, meaning soil, earth, country, region, domain. It is the syllabic inverse. So the F still corresponds with B, but F is the initial consonant. The N is a prefix. So the first consonant is F and is switched in Chiluba in this word to correspond with B in the second consonant position. And so what is R in the second consonant position in ancient Egyptian is L in the first consonant position in this form. And we see the same thing again in this word here, Neferwa, meaning shine of the sun, and Chiluba Laba, meaning shine, glow, and twinkle. It is the inverse. But we know it is inversed because it is also inversed in Chiluba. And so that Laba is now Bala, meaning to shine, the glow. Mubalu, appearance of the new moon. Balakana, to shine very brightly. And kana is a suffix dealing with intensity, ongoing intensity, to shine, to be radiant, to be in a state of radiance, right? And so, it confirms. So, these we know that there's an FB correspondence here, right? And RL. But the F in Egyptian also corresponds in the first consonant position to P in Chiluba. So we have Nefer, meaning odor, which corresponds to Chiluba, Mupuya, breath, air, smell, breath, breathing. I don't know why I have breath in there twice, but perfume and odor, right? Nefrewa, meaning offerings, corresponds now to Chiluba Mu Impela, a donor, one who makes a donation. Because Impela in this case means a donor, a charitable person, right? And in Coptic, you have Nufi, meaning good, and this corresponds to Chiluba Pupa, to calm, appease, soothe, calm down. Pudikija, the L becomes D after when L is followed by I. So impose silence, silence, soothe, calm. Pudikila, keep silent, silent. I don't know why I have this. That's the wrong correspondence. So I need to correct that in the thing, because there's a Nefer dealing with calmness, peace, and the like, and so that actually should have been in there and not the Egyptian Coptic Nufi. So I do apologize there. I should have caught that. And so we have Nefer, pleasant, and then we have Fole, gentle, calm, quiet, tranquil. Neferet, what is good and kindness. Impila, be beautiful, good, pretty, well, pleasant, new, strong, and perfect. Nefer, perfect, finished. And Poi, be accomplished, completed, complete, to be finished, exhausted, to end, to be erased, to no longer exist. Also, Puigila, Puishila, to complete, to be finished, right? And so the R is dropped in this variant here. And so we have some more. Nefer, sacred fire, sacred emblems. And then Pia, meaning to burn, consume, to be grilled. We'll skip down. Pia, meaning ripe. Kapia, fire. Chipila, burnt face. Bu Pia, burnt face. Bipila, ashes, ruins. Or burnt place, I should say, not face. Neferwa, deficiency. Neferu, young men of the army, recruits. And I correspond that with Pela or Pela, to be poor, destitute, needy, and miserable. And then we have a partial reduplication, Pipela, and then Pupala, to be or become light, to decrease, to become easy. Mupele, poor, destitute, and needy. And often, the Nefer, because it can also mean young, I believe, but normally the army recruits usually come from a lower class, right? And so there may be a correlation there. So there's in regards to that second Egyptian term, we still need some more investigation, but I'm putting that out there now. So Neferi, good things, treasures, good luck, fortune. In this instance, Chiluba, because the T becomes D and the D becomes L. So Proto-Bantu D became L. And then there's an interchange between T and D, voice and voicing. So we have Peta, to find, obtain, receive, earn, make a profit, join, on the way, reach. Bu and Peta, richness. Lu Petu, gain, profit, acquire, being well, wealth, booty, budget. So we can see there. And so there's also evidence to show that this R in many of these terms derive from T in ancient Egyptian as well. So we'll explore that in another video. And lastly, in Chiluba, the F in Egyptian also corresponds to F in Chiluba. So we see Nefer, sacred fire, sacred emblems, and becomes Mufwe, fire, and Fu is the root here, and so we can see that the R has been dropped, and Chiluba oftentimes drops R or L in many correspondences in ancient Egyptian, either in the first consonant or second consonant position. And so we have Nefer Jagjar, which corresponds to Chifwadi, pot in Chiluba. And then we have this form here, Nefer, zero, end, finish, which corresponds to Chiluba, foi, to die, to no longer exist, to perish, to be extinguished, be broken, shattered, out of the order, wear out, to be broken, set of a contract or friendship, and break down. So that's what it means when we talk about zero. It is to be extinguished, is to not exist. You know, so something isn't there, it's no longer there, right? And so these are the correspondences that we shown here. So the in as far as the consonant sequence Nefer or NFR, the N in Egyptian corresponds to N, M, as well as zero, the zero grade. And then F corresponds to B, P, as well as F in the first consonant position. And R corresponds to L, D, and T, as well as zero in the second consonant position, right? And so, as we know, we've done our due diligence in terms of correspondences between Egyptian and a Bantu language. And so we know the transitivity axiom. If A implies B and B implies C, therefore A also implies C. A better way to say it, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So we can do these correspondences between Egyptian and Chiluba, and they will correspond to the closest relatives to Chiluba, and that's other Central and East African Bantu languages. And so this is going to be important when we analyze these terms coming from this particular text. This is David Lee Schobrum, if I'm saying that correctly, probably not, but he has a text that was published in 1997 titled The Historical Reconstruction of Great Lakes Bantu Cultural Vocabulary, Etymologies, and Distributions, right? And the author is a historian. He has a PhD in history. He's part of the Christopher Arid Greenberg School. And so a lot of them actually got their PhDs in history, but they also study linguistics as a part of that process. And so when you go to the entry number 160, the gloss or the definition given is high status by virtue of birth. And so the root is fula. And he's saying the proto language, Great Lakes Bantu. And I'm here to say that it is not Great Lakes Bantu as the proto language, because Chiluba is not considered a Great Lakes Bantu language. And we can also find this in Kikongo as well. And the fact that you find these terms in ancient Egyptian means that this is at minimum proto Bantu in terms of these root here. But the Fula form, meaning high status by virtue of birth. That's what a noble is, right? Somebody born into nobility. But the root here, we can see, for example, in Northern Nyanza languages, this word in the Ganda language is enfula, meaning fine, generous, hospitable, well behaved. right? So we can see that this concept of a high status by virtue of birth is really a secondary, maybe even a tertiary definition for this root, because the underlying root has to deal with that sense of beauty, generalness, hospitality, somebody who is well behaved, right? Somebody who is pure of heart, of good character. And we continue in the Rutara branch of the Great Lakes Bantu languages. So we see in the Haya language, Obu being the prefix of abstraction, Fula, high status by virtue of birth into a ruling clan. Kerebi, Infura, group of elders who stay with the king and whom king consults on difficult issues. In Haya language, Bufura, goodness, kindness, friendliness. Mufura, soft, gentle, friendly. In Kore language, Obofura, generosity, liberality. In Yoro and in Nkore, Infura, one of the upper classes, general, hospitable person. So you see the connection here? In Kore and in the Kiga language, Obufura, hospitality, gentlemanliness, respect. Efura, gentleman, sociable person. So this idea of nobility is connected to the context of good character. Somebody with a calm and gentle character, but somebody who is charitable, friendly. And this is what determines your placement also in the upper class, right? There's a connection here. In the forest branch of the Great Lakes Bantu languages, you have in the Havu language, Efura, meaning a brave person with distinguished manner. In the Timbo, Efula, firstborn, boy or girl. She, Infula, firstborn son, elder brother. And I think this is where, ultimately I think that this concept of being like the association of the high status by virtue of birth has to deal with a separate word that merged historically. One in terms of being born or being firstborn, and then that match with the concept of charity and hospitality and gentleness and being kind and well-mannered, right? And so over time, those became the expectations of the firstborn, because normally the firstborn is the one who takes over after the father has passed away in terms of the household and or kingdoms. So you also have this notion in African languages and communities where the royal family is associated with the first family, the first person who came and settled on a particular territory. So the man who settled on a particular piece of land and did the necessary rituals to get protection from the land and to go into contract with the land to uphold the land in terms of its integrity, that person who started a family and had children and from the homestead built a village, and from a village to a city and town and nation, that the first inhabitants of that territory automatically have royal status. And so the people who are born from that lineage also becomes nobility. And you see this everywhere in Africa. And so that also may play a role historically in the weaving of these concepts together. And in Chiluba, you have the name Imbuyi, which means firstborn of twins. In Kikongo, you have Mbo or Mbo, right? And so that Y in Imbuyi may just simply be an inserted glide as a result of the U, and the original R or L may have been dropped. But this goes to prove the point here that the firstborn of twins in Mbuyi, Mbo, but the East African languages kept the L sound in that second consonant position, right? So lastly, I believe in the West Highlands, you have Infura, firstborn eldest. So it doesn't have to be of twins. And then Urufura, distinction, elegance, nobility. Ubufura, moral nobility, outstanding character. In Rwanda, Imfura, eldest, noble person of irreproachable conduct. So for you to be of nobility and royal status, you had to be an individual with an elder's mindset. You could be the eldest, but you also had to be a person of irreproachable conduct. And so I'm associating this with the Nefer and like Nefertiti and Nefertari, because it may not be associated simply with their beauty or the sense of perfection in terms of physical looks. That's how Egyptologists interpret it. But of course, most Egyptologists are not Africans and don't speak African languages. And so they don't know how these terms are related. So the notion that Nefertari is simply a beautiful woman, right, is to me short-sighted. Is speaking to her nobility, is speaking to her elegance, it's speaking to her character. And we see this even amongst the so-called Nubians in Meroe with the term Kandaki, the term where we get the word Candace from. And unlike Candace Owens, the word Kandaki, Candace, means pure woman. And that sense of pure woman deals in the exact same way that we see here in the Bantu languages in terms of the character and the nobility, right? And so we have Nefer in a number of titles. For example, you have Hiri Neferet, and it's a professional title. And so you can imagine we'll have to do some more research in that title and the roles and the expectations of it. But it is, you can see it in that particular title. Heri meanings like a kind of a lead, the head or the overseer, so-called, of certain things. But we can tell here that the expectation of this particular title is one of someone who has unreproachable conduct, right? And then it's part of the title, the king or the deity. You have Necher Nefer, the perfect king, the perfect God, right? And you see it as a title for Osiris in winning Neferu or Neferwa, right? Which is Onofrios in ancient Greek. And so, we've done in the book that I mentioned earlier, the 2021 text, and we've done a video that the word so-called Wanani Neferu is cognate with the Yoruba phrase Iwak Pele, meaning good and gentle character, right? And so this is what it's the same meaning here. It is this word when and whenin means being, existence, also character. So we're talking about a perfect character, a gentle character, good character. And if you know about the story of Osiris, he went around converting people, showing them the benefits of having good character. And we'll have to do a whole show just on Osiris's good character. Osir. As a matter of fact, we've done an analysis on Osir on this channel as well, and there's a chapter that I contributed to this book that will be released hopefully by the end of this year or sometime next year, on the etymology of Osir. And Osir has to deal with someone who is reliable, upstanding, someone of good character, right? And it's associated with a tree or a central pillar of a home, even a wall, because these are all physical symbols for an abstract concept of being stable enough that the entire home or village, as the king, can lean on and not fall. So they are the source of communal and household stability. And you can only do that if you're a person of impeccable character. And so this notion, although not cognate in terms of historical linguistics, but semantically, we see this association between character and kingship across Africa. So we dealt with that in Yoruba, and now we're dealing with this in amongst the Doluo, who exist all the way from southern Sudan or South Sudan to Kenya, right? And so they have the word rof, meaning respectful, a well-behaved, upright, generous person, man or woman, compliment, right? And the same word means chief, leader, king, president, showing you that the chief, leader, king, or president is, at least the expectation, is someone who is respectful, well behaved, a generous person, a charitable person, and someone who is upright. Meaning a pillar, a tree. And we see this same thing amongst the Acholi. It is built off of a KR root. So it's kero, meaning raising, meaning upright. And then we have ker, royalty, chieftain, kingdom. And it's been slightly rounded in terms of the case. We have query, a reliable, sharp, talented, and upright person. And this is one of the variants of the name Osir. This hasn't been palatalized. So the K hasn't become S. But amongst the Luo, when you say Osir, that is this word right here, query, Osir, meaning a reliable, sharp, talented, upright person. This is an Osir on the right-hand side. This is an actual Trolley king. And you can see with the cheetah leopard skin, just like what you see in ancient Kemet. And so even in Chiluba, you have this notion. So we get to the core of this term here. So like we have pela, meaning to rub, to clean, to scratch, file, grind, and crush. You have impelo, impelu, grinding stone, and grindstone. Mupela, special piece of wood used to obtain fire by friction, because pela means to rub, to grind, etc. And so now mu puts it in a class where it's attached to wood, a wood lighter, right? So there's some kind of friction that sparks the fire. And then you have peluca, to be pure, purified, to be clean, to be scratched. Right? So now you see how it makes sense when they use that same word, meaning to rub, to clean, and to purify with the ka suffix, and now bella, meaning to civilize, and then mupela, a civilized man or person. And then just like in those other East African languages, you have mfula, a charitable person. So a Nefer. So we all have all of these different variations in in Chiluba more specifically, but in Bantu in general. And then we see it in ancient Egyptian, which may also have different pronunciations, but represented by the same hieroglyphs. But all of that, comes together in terms of, what it means to be a noble, what it means to be royalty in Africa. It's a different concept than here in the United States or maybe in Europe. Royalty in Africa traditionally has to deal with one's character. Character is the religion. Good character is the religion of Africa. That's all. When you're talking about Ma'at has to deal with one's character, your ability to give, to be able to accumulate resources and to give. This is why at the end of the the papyrus, like of Ani or Nefer, or in certain pyramid texts, you have this notion of your declaration of innocence and your declaration of virtues. Your declaration of innocence talks about what you have not done, what taboos you have not broken in terms of the community. I have not killed, I have not stolen, I have not slept with someone's wife or husband, et cetera, right? I have not defrauded the land, not defrauded the king and the taxes and community. But the declaration of virtues has to deal with your character. And so I have given food to the hungry. I have given a boat to one who was boatless. Right? I have helped so-and-so in their need. I'm showing how charitable I am. And that as a result of my charity and my good character, I deserve to be one of the immortal ones, the shining ones, the Aku, the Orisha. Right? And that's what you see in Africa and how all of this relates. And so with that being said, I do appreciate you staying with me here and listening. So if you have any more questions, and we'll definitely have a part 2 in the future, Leave your questions and comments in the comment section below. And until next time, peace.
Tokyo wanna those that. What's up? Feeling like I dropped the draw for and caught Uno. Came to kick the door with a game man judo. Pin game low, that's why they give me kudos. Inspired by the 3-0. 595, check it for pack flight. Hit the turnpike, slide to a baseline. Gotta sound like I just hit the 85. Oh, I'm so ready, by enemies necessary. We gon' be legendary, hold up. About to grow the payrolls. If you see the vision and you're with it, you should say so. Cause we about building, elevating the millions.
This program was created with the love and support of all our Patreon members and subscribers. If you are not a member yet and would like to see more content like this, consider becoming a member today. The link is in the description of this video. Your support is greatly appreciated.